Hello and welcome to VCC TV. This is Joseph Rai, and I have with me Aman Malik, Senior Assistant Editor, to talk about the GST Council's decision today. Hi Aman.
Hi.
Now, GST is considered to be one of the biggest reforms in the history of Indian economy since the liberalization policy in the early 1990s. And we've moved a step further today with the Finance Minister announcing 4 rate slabs for the GST tax slab. So can you tell us briefly about what these 4 rates are?
Look, the biggest hurdle that there was has actually been crossed today. Until now, we had the constitutional amendments in place. We've had every other thing. A lot of other things have been ironed out, but the rates had not been decided. Today, they've at least decided, though not all, most of the rate and the rate structure. So the rate slabs will be 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. For certain goods, there will be no tax. So for foodstuffs and wheat and rice and stuff, as far as we know, there will be no tax. For certain other so-called Aam Aadmi goods or goods that are used by common men, the rate will be 5%. The other goods will be taxed at rates at 12% and 18%. But there are certain goods like luxury goods and so-called demerit goods, which are goods like tobacco and pan masala and aerated drinks. That will be taxed at 28%, and over and above that, as far as we know, will attract a cess. What does this mean? There will be a tax rate of 28%, but over and above that, the centre will collect a cess on them and use the proceeds of that cess, which will in the first year will likely be around 50,000 crores, to compensate those states which will lose out on revenue when the GST regime comes into practice. States that produce goods will lose out on revenue, whereas states that consume goods, since it's a consumption tax, will gain on revenue. So to compensate those states, the centre will levy this cess and then will sort of distribute this among them. Right. So this is what in a nutshell has happened today.
So Arun Jaitley also did not say a lot of things, like he did not say whether gold
That's correct.
will be taxed, under
Yes.
which tax slab and will gold be
That's right.
under, or even medicines for that matter. So what is your take on that?
Okay, so we don't have a clarity on a lot of things as yet. One, like you said, we do not know where gold as bullion. The gold has 2 forms. One is bullion, actual gold, ingots and bars, etc. And the other is jewelry. Jewelry will probably be taxed at anywhere around 12 or 18%. Okay, but bullion, the government had initially proposed should be taxed at 4%. They have not said anything today. So if your minimum tax is 5%, are they taxing it at 5%, or will there be a separate rate for gold? As yet, we do not know. We do not also know the commodity classification of other commodities. So like you said, medicines, life-saving drugs, we don't have complete clarity on it. Moreover, these are goods. We still, as of this moment, unless something comes up tonight by way of fine print or a government release, we do not know where, how, at what rate services will be taxed. So if you go to a restaurant, or when it comes to your mobile phone, when you pay your bill, they're all services. You hire an Uber or Ola cab, that's a service. You pay your cable bill, that's a service. What would those services, where would those services fall? We don't yet know. So we need a lot of clarity when it comes to these issues. Another thing that has not yet been made clear or has not yet been decided on is the issue of dual control. Entities, initially it was proposed that companies or entities which have annual turnovers of 1.5 crores or less should be assessed by states, while the rest of them should be assessed jointly by the center and the states. States have a problem with it. So that all of these things will be discussed in tomorrow's meeting when the GST Council meets again, and it is imperative that this decision happen tomorrow itself, so that the centre can then take further legislative measures when it comes to the next session of Parliament.
So the centre has said that they want to roll out GST in April next year.
That's
so
right.
do you think that there will be that deadline?
That is $1 million question. If they can come at these decisions tomorrow, And if the centre can then move those bills in Parliament, see, there are two sets of legislations. One set of legislation already done. States have also ratified that. That's a constitutional amendment. But the actual GST legislations related to the central GST tax, the state GST tax, and the integrated tax, they have to be brought in the Parliament. Once the Parliament clears them, only then can the centre formally actually set the motion of implementing the GST in process. Okay. Now, if the November session, winter session of Parliament can clear it, then the centre can move right ahead, and it can move at breakneck speed, and they can actually roll GST out by 1st April. If that cannot happen, and if this gets postponed, then we are looking at a mid-year rollout of the GST, mid-2017-18.
Okay, thank you so much, Aman, for that. And
thank you.
A lot of clarity required on a lot of officials, and we just hope that everything gets decided by tomorrow, so that the centre meets its target for rolling out GST next year.
Thank
you so much.